Ladies and gentlemen, are the feds and the province in cahoots yet again to prop up the real estate market? And your 5 minutes starts right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I've been on a 2-week hiatus. It was my birthday, and a lot has taken place since then, so let's dive right into it. We now have federal election have been called. April 28th is the day that we're all gonna go to the polls and vote. I'm not gonna make this a political statement. We're gonna go to the polls and vote for whoever we see fit. We have the opportunity finally, April 28th. Now, the biggest question of this last 2 weeks, I think, where two worlds collide, the federal and the provincial worlds I'm discussing, are two very important voices in the conversation of real estate, specifically Vancouver real estate, look to be in line, in parallel, if you will, and that all revolves around foreign buyers being allowed, welcomed back, said gates be open again. So we're gonna start with Eby, our local lovely favorite. Eby was in a talk, now it's about a week and a half ago, where he's turned the corner, it seems. Eby has stated, I can say this is parallel with as flat as possible, he's realized that private landlords do actually add value to the market at large in assisting in the supply of rental housing. Now this has been a very, if you know, I shouldn't say that, this has been a very assumed point of view where if you think of it, obviously private landlords are the bulk of the landlords, your mom and pops that own that 1 or 2 or 5 investment condos or homes or whatever, renting them out, renting out the basement suite, renting out the upstairs, doing whatever they do. Typically those people buying your pre-sales. Of course it was pitched that all the people buying pre-sales are buying them to flip and make money and therefore are bad investors. But of course, developers need to sell X amount to get financing. So the people buying and speculating, half of them will flip, half of them will hold and just rent it out, of course. So you've got all these people that are just trying to expand their long-term financial horizons, diving into real estate as one does in this neck of the woods, and them all being thrown in the same pot and labeled as bad. Bad for the cause, bad for the people, the little people. So investors who buy and sell real estate for profit in British Columbia are actually useful to the economy and the housing sector, is what has been said. So this is kind of seems like it's a complete left turn for him and his narrative. After 7 years of investors and flippers are the devil, essentially, he's drastically changed his tune. This all came in a talk he did, I believe he was in Victoria, to developers and realtors and blah, blah, blah. So Eby reveals his intention to try and harness the investor's spirit, which his policies have killed over the last handful of years. But anyway, what's left of it, harness that spirit to boost the affordable housing goals. So they sprinkle in the word affordable, which is the least perspectived word in this entire conversation, but that's a story for another day. Eby also pledges to the to the real estate crowd that he would boost protections for landlords. Why the hell would he want to protect the devil? The landlord, those pricks who kick you out prematurely so they can reno and sell for millions more, yada, yada, yada. All these huge campaign promises to attack the bad guys, which always fell onto the landlords and the investors. Left turn, 180 degree. It's the exact opposite. We are also looking at how do we support small investors that might buy their own condo and then rent it out as a private landlord. But they're reluctant because they don't want the place damaged, and what if someone doesn't pay rent? All of these and other things. Eby also includes landlord protections in his latest mandate letter to Housing Minister Eby Changed. The government doesn't need to get involved in if. This has always been a thing. If the tenant trashes the place, there's insurance. If the tenant doesn't pay rent, there should be repercussion paths available for landlords to get them the hell out in a timely manner. But those have all been pulled away, softened, dampened, retracted. So it's not like they're coming in to save the world of landlord hardships here, which is how it sounds like it's being pitched. We have no action yet, but very interesting. Also, go on to note in this, he said, can we find a vehicle where investors would be able to participate in rental housing, building purpose-built rental housing with professional management, and insulating from some of those impacts that they're worried about in the terms of behavior of a particular tenant? So now you're saying you should do this because you should be scared of that, of course. And so we're looking at all kinds of things because we want to harness some of the energy behind investing in housing, but not at the expense of the goals of getting people into housing. So a very convoluted, big ticket words being saved there, people into housing, helping, but a very convoluted approach. Let's take investor sentiment and place it over here. We've seen a number of avenues the government has taken to specific financial circumstances, specific lending practices. We're going to go in with you. We're going to lend together, purchase investment properties together. When people have to jump on the backs of the government to do something, which it sounds to me like they're trying to manipulate into this next plan here, they don't do it. All of those financing programs have been scrapped and it just doesn't work. Opening it up to a free market or more of a free market works, but that's definitely not what it looks like they're talking about here. So again, investors are bad, flippers are bad, landlords are bad, tenants are the victims, real estate is not a speculative asset, a litany of taxes and regulations, and now this. So this is the first step in what looks like a 180 and a paralleled potential path for a potential new government, which we are going to jump into next. But I think this is just, obviously common sense has been put aside for a very long time, and they have hit such a grinding halt in the market here that they are forced to now backstep, and this looks like the first progress towards said backstep. Now, that's on the local front, provincially here in BC. Of course, we jump up to the federal level now. Bob Rennie was in the spotlight again a week and a half ago for comments stated in another meeting or presentation a week and a half ago again. So it quickly leads us to this and the said parallels. Quoted here, Rennie's is asking Carney to remove foreign buyer restraints on real estate and allow them to receive a preferred CMHC mortgage rate when purchasing investment units within a mandatory 25-year pool. So that is a statement of apparently what is being discussed from local, they're toting him condo king here, Bob Rennie, up to the federal Liberal government, obviously currently in power. We'll see what happens on April 28th. Go and vote. But betterdwellings.com housing analysis Stephen Poonwazi pointed out that foreign owners of Canadian rental units would mean money in the form of rental payments would be exiting the country. Interesting. This is a plan similar to the one that got us into this position in the first place. So, similar to foreign ownership now, there's a lot of, I don't want to say loopholes, but buy it in a corporation, you have a minority stake as a foreigner as opposed to a majority as a domestic, so you can still buy that way, so on and so forth. Again, it looks like, yes, there are some faults to that other than the glaring, is that just going to pick the market up where it left off if we let all this foreign money come in again? But of course, I would definitely agree that a huge push from foreign money coming in the late teens of this last bulk of years was what really kind of pushed everything up in conjunction with rates obviously hitting the floor, giving this local market a little hook to try and get into that as well. The panel happened to begin with a presentation of research co-pollster Mario Canseco, who began the discussion by noting the current federal government ban on non-Canadians, excluding international students, purchasing residential property has support of 3 in 4 Canadians. This is one of those rare occasions in which agreement spans across party lines. So 3 in 4 Canadians agree that foreign buyers are not welcome. We do not want that foreign money because it will continue to amplify price points, which I fully agree it would, and in turn make owning real estate for locals that much harder. Now, what Bob is stating is getting them in an exclusive form of rental circumstance, but again, why don't we have a rental circumstance? There's a rate circumstance and a lot of red tape, so there's a lot of other bureaucratic issues taking place, why the real estate market and the development market has crashed to the levels it is at now. I think removing domestic red tape is a much stronger approach than allowing that new money to refunnel in. Again, follow the money, follow the common sense, and I think that makes a lot more sense. Reduce taxes. We've got both federal leading party leaders discussing about reducing GST on first-time homebuyers. First was at $1 million, now it's at $1.3 million, depending who you're going to vote for, blah, blah, blah. So I think this is a problem that can be dealt with domestically, and it should be dealt with on domestic levels of cutting red tape, cutting taxes, allowing more fluctuation. All these, again, EB restraints that have come in the last handful of years has really kind of handcuffed everyone to now a dead development market, a very escalated pricing market in the real estate, still an escalated pricing market in the rates, and I think that's a problem that can be dealt with at home and not opening it up to a free world market as we had before, which arguably was 50%, if not more, of the reason why we got here in the first place. What are your thoughts? Those are mine.